The quiet fear of starting. Why we stay stuck in the safe zone.
I was just thinking about this really quiet trap that so many of us fall into. Like, it's this heavy feeling you get when you realize you are completely relying on just one single paycheck.
Oh yeah, that single point of failure.
Right. I mean, we all know deep down that it's fragile, right? You lose that one job and suddenly everything just falls apart. But then when we actually try to start a side project or build something new, we just freeze.
We completely freeze up. It is so common.
It is. And, we buy the courses, we watch like 40 hours of videos on how to build business online. We get the whole desk set up.
And then the actual starting part just never happens.
Never happens. We just quietly let it fade away. And I mean, I've asked myself so many times, like, why do I overthink every single step before I even make a decision? Why do smart, capable people stay stuck in this safe zone when we know it's not actually that safe?
That is the big mystery, right? And the shame people feel around that cycle is just massive. But the thing I always tell people is that this hesitation, it isn't laziness. It really isn't.
It feels like laziness, though, or like a lack of discipline.
I know it does, but it's not. It's actually your mind working exactly the way it was designed to. Your brain is just aggressively stepping in to protect you from what it sees as a major threat.
Wait, a threat? Like, my brain treats opening a small online shop as a threat.
Exactly. I mean, we have to look at how the mind processes fear. The brain uses the exact same alarm system for financial doubt that it uses for actual physical danger. So to your mind, it's like, well, it doesn't politely tell the difference between the risk of losing a few bucks and the risk of being chased by a wild animal.
Oh, wow. So it's like our brains are running this ancient survival software,
Yeah.
but we live in a modern world.
That's it perfectly. Your mind's threat center acts like this overly sensitive smoke alarm in a kitchen. A threat is a threat.
Yeah.
So starting a new project, stepping into the unknown, it triggers the alarm.
That puts a totally different spin on the fear of starting. Like, my brain treats sending a basic email pitch the same way it treats hearing a loud crash in a dark room.
Right, because it hates the unknown. And this brings up a huge part of human psychology. We have this deep bias where we hold on to what we have, way more fiercely than we try to get new things. Losing something hurts us twice as much as gaining something makes us feel good.
Wait, really? Twice as much?
Yeah, the pain of loss is huge. So if you find $100, you're happy, but if you lose $100, you are just devastated. It ruins your whole week.
That is so true. I would be thinking about that lost $100 for days.
Exactly. So translate that to starting a new income stream. When your brain looks at a new project, it weighs the risk of losing your free time or your energy or your seed money, and it weighs that so much heavier than the reward of success.
The math is just completely broken.
It is skewed toward doing nothing. Doing nothing feels like keeping what you have.
But, I mean, in today's world, isn't staying at one stable job actually safer than risking time on a side business? Even with the fear of loss, a steady paycheck feels like solid ground.
It feels like solid ground, but that feeling is just an illusion. Our biology just hasn't updated to see it. Relying on one boss for your entire life is actually a massive risk. Spreading your risk across multiple streams is objectively safer for your long-term growth.
But our mind just reads the new thing as a fatal risk.
Right. And it reads the familiar day job as safe, no matter how shaky that job might actually be.
That explains this weird thing I think we all secretly do. Like, you make a plan to meet a new client on the side, right? And then they cancel at the last minute. Logically, you should be upset about losing the money.
But instead, you feel relief.
Yes, this huge wave of secret relief. The pressure to act is just gone. I always felt so guilty about that.
Oh, don't feel guilty? The threat was removed, so your alarm system just goes back to sleep. Our minds heavily favor immediate comfort over long-term safety. The canceled meeting means your present self gets to sit on the couch and watch a show.
And the brain doesn't really care about the future self, right?
Not when the present self is being offered a cozy night in.
Okay, so if this resistance is quite literally a biological alarm system going off, then, I mean, we can't just outthink it. All the motivational quotes on social media aren't going to turn off a physical alarm.
No, they really aren't. You can't just think your way out of biology. You have to address the body directly. This is where it gets super practical. How you treat your physical body on a Tuesday directly changes your mental courage on a Wednesday.
See, this is the part I find endlessly fascinating, because this crosses into daily habits that nobody really connects to financial success. Like, let's talk about sleep. We all know we should sleep more, but the actual mechanics of it are wild.
They really are. When you are running on, let's say, 5 hours of sleep, The logical planning part of your brain basically powers down. The part that handles long-term goals and risk checks, it goes offline.
So you're starving the exact tool you need to build the project. If the logic is offline, who is driving the car?
The fear center takes the wheel. Without the logical brain to say, hey, this is just a tiny side project, not a tiger, you're primed to see every single choice as a huge threat.
Oh, man. So a rested brain looks at a new task and sees an interesting puzzle. But a tired brain looks at the exact same task and sees a threat to survival.
Yes. And it isn't just sleep that hijacks us. Food does the exact same thing. Specifically sugar and heavy carbs. We're talking about blood sugar spikes and crashes.
Right, the classic afternoon slump.
Exactly. When you eat a heavy carb-loaded meal, you get this huge spike and then a steep drop. And what happens physically during a blood sugar drop, your heart rate speeds up, you feel shaky, your body dumps adrenaline to try and fix it.
Which are literally the exact same physical signs of a panic attack.
Exactly. Your brain feels those physical signs, the racing heart, the shakes, and it looks around the room trying to figure out why you feel panicked. If you happen to be staring at a blank business plan on your screen, your brain links that project to the panic.
Wow. An anxious brain just defaults to hiding.
It does not explore, it hides.
Let me just make sure I am fully grasping this. You're saying that the reason I didn't sit down and work on my passion project last night, it might not be a lack of drive. It might simply be because I ate a whole sleeve of cookies, had a sugar crash, and was running on zero sleep. My brain was literally mistaking a sugar crash for a fear of failure.
It is highly likely. Add in things like getting morning sunlight, which helps balance your mood and focus for the day, and you see this very physical base for our actions. Getting good sleep and eating steady meals won't magically build a business for you, obviously.
Right, the world isn't going to just hand you clients because you went to bed early.
But those physical baselines guarantee that you will view your choices through a lens of clarity rather than this fog of pure exhaustion. You give your nervous system the calm it needs to actually take a chance.
Okay, so let's say someone listening right now gets their sleep sorted out, they fix their diet, and that physical smoke alarm is finally quiet. The next wall we hit is totally mental, right? It's tied to how we see ourselves, our identity.
This might be the most powerful shift of all. How you see yourself is a way better compass for success than just raw drive.
Because drive is just a feeling. It comes and goes depending on the weather or your mood.
Right. Motivation fades, but identity sticks with you. People who actively change their inner story from, I am someone who works a job, to I am someone who builds things, are so much more likely to keep going when it gets hard.
I am someone who builds. It sounds simple, but if you really let that sink in, it completely shifts how you view a Tuesday night. Like, if you were just someone who has a job, coming home to work on a side project feels like awful, unpaid overtime. It feels like a burden.
Yes, exactly.
But if your mindset is, I am someone who builds, then working on your project is just, well, it's just you being you. It aligns with who you are. The inner conflict just vanishes.
That alignment is what we see in people who actually sustain growth over time. They don't take these wild, reckless leaps into the dark. They build their new stream slowly, usually on the side while keeping their main job. But the real difference is their habits around learning. They spend time reading and growing, rather than just escaping into a screen every night.
Which perfectly matches that identity shift. Someone who builds naturally leans into a growth mindset. They want to figure out how things work. While someone who has a job usually leans into an escape mindset, just trying to numb out and recover from the day.
And part of adopting that growth mindset is breaking down these giant myths that stop us from even trying. Like, myth number one is that you need a huge pile of money saved up to even start.
Right. Waiting for the perfect time, which is really just another trap set by our fear alarm. Taking tiny, steady steps with almost no money builds the mental pathways for a habit way better than waiting for some magical pile of cash to appear.
And myth number two is just as bad. It's the idea that you need a completely unique, never-before-seen idea to succeed.
Oh, the pressure of being original.
Right. But uniqueness matters so much less than just showing up and doing the work. Most successful side projects are just simple, proven concepts done well. You don't need to invent new tech. You just need to offer a simple service that people already need.
But what if you feel like you just don't have any skills that people would pay for outside of your day job?
Yeah.
I can hear someone right now saying, I just do data entry, or I just manage schedules for my boss. Nobody's going to pay me for a side gig. We get stuck in that imposter feeling so easily.
That doubt brings up a really key point about how we constantly undervalue our own worth. Almost everyone has what we call adjacent skills. Skills that sit right next to what you do all day. You just haven't been taught to look for the overlap between your daily tasks and what other people might need.
I remember this really great story about a guy named Michael that perfectly captures this. Michael managed a small team at a local hardware store. He kept hearing about building multiple streams of income, but he was just frozen. And it wasn't just his own fear. His dad had been a factory worker who lost everything when the plant shut down.
Ah, yeah. Family fears about money passed down through the years. That is a massive unspoken wall for so many people.
Exactly. Michael grew up watching his dad's whole sense of self crumble because he relied on one single boss. So the thought of stepping outside the safety of his steady paycheck felt like betraying his family's harsh lessons, even though the lesson itself was keeping him stuck.
That kind of pressure is so heavy.
It is. So to break that fear, Michael didn't go out and try to build some crazy startup. He just used his adjacent skills. He knew tools from the hardware store, and he knew how to talk to people. So he just started teaching a really basic weekend wood class. He started with literally 2 people from his town.
He took the exact skills he used every single day and just tilted them slightly into a new, safe space. That is brilliant. There's another story, too, Sarah, who worked in office marketing. Her story shows a totally different trap, putting the wrong label on our fear.
Sarah's story is almost too relatable. She spent years telling her friends she would start her own consulting thing as soon as work slowed down, and she built up this intense anger toward her boss for always keeping her so busy.
The psychology there is so fascinating. Her anger at her boss was actually a shield. It was hiding her deep fear of having to rely entirely on herself. It is mentally so much easier to be mad at someone else, your boss, your busy schedule, the state of the world, than to admit you are terrified of putting your real work out there and facing rejection.
She was using her busy job as a hiding place, and she only snapped out of it when a friend lost their job out of nowhere. Sarah saw how crushing that single point of failure really was. But she didn't just boldly quit her job. She just started spending 15 minutes a day, literally just 15 minutes, sending messages to people she already knew. A year and a half later, that tiny daily habit was paying a third of her rent.
Which leads us right to the actual daily mechanics of changing our mindset. We understand the body's role now. We understand changing our inner story. But how do you actually get past the fear alarm on a random Tuesday night when you're super tired and the couch is calling your name?
Wait, let me just push back on this a little bit. If someone is bone tired from working a full shift, telling them to just do 15 minutes feels a bit like, I don't know, a cheap productivity trick. Does 15 minutes actually build a real business, or is it just to feel good?
It sounds like a trick, I admit, but it is a very specific mental workaround. The brain fiercely fights against huge sudden changes. If you sit down and say, I am going to launch my business tonight, your alarm bells go crazy. That is a massive unknown threat, and you will find any excuse to put it off.
Right, you'll suddenly decide the kitchen needs to be spotless.
Exactly. But if you say, I'm just going to spend exactly 15 minutes looking up one single website, the alarm doesn't wake up. It's too small of an action to trigger the fear. You are flying right under the radar.
So it's a way to sneak past your own defenses.
Yeah.
Like Jennifer, a nurse who was totally burned out. She didn't try to change her whole career over the weekend. She just took 15 minutes a day to look up flexible shifts at a different clinic. Within a few months, she had a completely separate income stream. And the wild part is, she felt so much better at her main job because that heavy blanket of feeling trapped was just gone.
That is the magic of the 15-minute rule. And a vital part of those 15 minutes is that you have to track the habit, not the results.
Because the results are mostly out of your hands.
Exactly. If you only celebrate when you get a paying client, and it takes 3 months to get one, your brain's reward system will just dry up. You'll quit long before the reward shows up. But if you celebrate, even just feeling proud of yourself, simply for sitting down for your 15 minutes, you close the loop right then and there.
Just checking the box for the day becomes the win.
Right. And to make sure you actually do it, you can make a clear plan.
When this happens, I will do that plan.
Yes. Don't rely on vague ideas like, I'll work on it later tonight. Set a firm trigger. Tell yourself, when I finish my morning coffee, I will spend 15 minutes writing one email. You completely remove the heavy burden of having to make a choice in the moment.
That makes so much sense. We also have to watch out for the things that sabotage us, too, like what we let into our minds. If you are constantly doom-scrolling, reading about layoffs, watching angry news, comparing yourself to everyone on social media, you are keeping your background anxiety running high all day.
You have to guard what enters your mind just as fiercely as what you eat. If your brain thinks the world is falling apart, it will never let you take a risk to build something new.
Another trap is the endless research phase. And I am deeply called out by this one because, as I said earlier, I have definitely watched endless tutorials, organized all my notes into perfect folders, and totally convinced myself I was working without ever actually doing a single real-world thing.
Endless research is a brilliant way to hide. It feels super productive, but there is zero actual risk of failure. The hidden cost, though, is that over time, you slowly chip away at your own self-trust. Deep down, you know you are hiding. The only fix is to put a strict limit on research time and force a small, real-world action right away.
And that action is going to feel uncomfortable. Which brings up maybe the hardest part of all this, learning to sit with the discomfort. Having unfinished plans, waiting on choices. Most people hate the feeling of the unknown so much that they will just quit their project early, just to stop feeling the tension.
They would literally rather have the certainty of failing than deal with the uncomfortable feeling of trying. The ability to simply sit with the unknown without rushing to fix it, solve it, or run away from it is one of the truest signs of long-term resilience.
Which perfectly sets up the ultimate truth of this whole conversation. We've spent this entire time talking about side streams and building projects. But when you really strip it all down to the studs, this isn't actually about money at all.
No, it really isn't. At its core, this whole journey is about your tolerance for the unknown. It is about whether your deep sense of safety comes from one outside source, like a boss who could let you go tomorrow, or from your own proven ability to create value out of thin air.
And this creates a crazy truth that I think is the biggest takeaway for anyone listening right now. We look at someone making a huge salary from one corporate job, and we think they have won the game. But that situation can actually cause way more underlying daily anxiety than someone earning less money but spreading it across 3 different places.
Because of the reps. The person with multiple streams, even if they make less total, has proven to their own mind that they can stand on their own. They have put in the reps. If they lose one stream, their mind doesn't panic. It knows they can just build another. The person with one massive salary has golden handcuffs. They have no reps. Deep down, their mind knows they're totally dependent on the mood of one single company.
That proof of self-trust calms the fears so much better than a big bank account. It changes how we see the people who actually do this. We assume the people who build these cool, free lives are just completely fearless. But they aren't. They feel the exact same fear we do. The difference is they have built a habit where they take their 15-minute action alongside the fear instead of waiting for the fear to go away.
They hear the smoke alarm going off, they check that there's no actual fire, and they sit down to work anyway.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? Building something new is so much less about grinding yourself to the bone or inventing the next big app. It's really just about taking these tiny 15-minute steps to build trust in yourself. It's about slowly showing your mind that it is safe to explore and changing your inner story to become someone who builds.
It is a gentle, steady shift in how you live.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to carry with you today. Think about your life right now. If your main source of income vanished tomorrow, would your deepest panic come from the lost money itself? Or from the sudden, scary realization that you've forgotten how to create value outside of that one specific building, for that one specific boss? What is one simple skill you have right now that you could spend just 15 minutes exploring today? Just 15 minutes, with the page actually open, facing that shadow in the room and realizing it's not a tiger after all. It's just an open door.
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Geeks Mindset has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same thoughtful way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to you, share it with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life, and it helps Geeks Mindset reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the join button right next to the Geeks Mindset logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Mindset Support Circle. Your support helps honest mindset awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Geeks Mindset moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.